Hello, everybody. Welcome to my new series where I'm going to be going over Jordan B. Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. In this series, I'm going to be doing an overview of each of Peterson's 12 rules and then giving my opinions on them. So, let's start with Rule 1. Stand up straight with your shoulders back. To summarize, Peterson's key argument in this rule is pretty much that people should stand with good posture because of the ancient hierarchy, and he shows this by using lobsters, which are a very good example because they show how when an animal has good posture, they feel boisterous and confident and then will keep being confident. But how when an animal is slouched, they feel defeated and they feel sheltered and they don't want to take risks. And even though posture on the grand scheme of things is relatively insignificant, it could lead to just a little more opportunity, and then that opportunity could keep snowballing into more opportunity because the people with more tend to get more. In my eyes, the three things that Peterson wanted to highlight in this chapter are positive feedback loops, the Matthew effect, and the body and mind connection. As far as I understand it, what he calls the positive feedback loop is pretty much just the snowball effect, which can be good or bad. A good example would be that you stand with good posture, and then that helps you land a job that you want, and then that job gets you status, and then that status puts you higher on the hierarchy, and then being higher on the hierarchy allows you to feel more motivation and more willingness to take risks. And overall, it just leads to you being more fulfilled in life. Or you could do the opposite, where you slouch, and then you don't get that job you wanted, and then you fall lower on the hierarchy, and now you lack motivation, and you keep spiraling downwards until you just don't feel like doing anything. I'm not actually sure if he calls it the Matthew effect in the book, but it's the same idea that the people who already have more will continue to get more disproportionately. And I think he brings this up to pretty much say, yeah, it's definitely better to be up here than it is to be right here, because, I mean, who would not want more? And I don't think he meant by this, like, purely status or money, wealth, possession. I think he also just meant, like, life fulfillment, because usually when you have more of those things, it's easier to reach life fulfillment. And the body to mind connection is, of course, much deeper than what he goes into this chapter, but basically what he's saying is even slight changes in your body can influence your mood and your behaviors, which will then snowball into the Matthew effect, where you'll start getting a little more and then you'll just disproportionately keep getting more. This is also the first of many times he brings up the human capacity for evil, which was a bit tough to think about because I like to think of myself as a good person, but I think that's all the more important I read this then. Since I've begun reading this book, I'm starting to pick up on things that I do that are really not so nice. I can tell when I'm being biased towards someone better. I can tell when I'm being selfish. I'm beginning to be able to tell when I just want everything in the world to go right for me and I don't even care what happens to anyone else. I'm glad I've started to notice these things. It's better to be aware than it is to be ignorant, right? And I wouldn't even say this makes me a bad person, because in reality, I'm just a spectrum of emotions, right? It's not like my personality traits are binary, like I either have them or I don't. I am a little bit of everything at different times. And I think it's better to admit to yourself that, okay, I have my own capacity for being a bad person, even if I don't like the thought of that. Because by doing this, you can be aware of when you are being, evil or just not the best person. I think recognizing that you can be a bad person at times is certainly better than just lying to yourself and saying that, I'm never a bad person. That's just nobody in the world. Because if you're more aware of your extremes, then you're more able to control them. If you know the problem, you're able to look out for the solution, right? This whole idea reminded me a lot of the Stanley Milgram shock experiment, actually, where pretty much they took a whole bunch of just like random Good Samaritan people. As far as I know, I don't actually know anything about the participants, but they made them, they made them shock this guy just because of obedience, because there was someone telling them to do it. And on that note, I'm going to say, have a good day.